Solar panels have become a poster child for the renewable energy industry, and more of these panels are appearing in our urban environments each day. Yet, despite this major step in our shift toward cleaner energy, the inconvenient methods by which we store solar energy has prevented the technology from being used more widely. In the United States, we currently have about 98 gigawatts of rooftop solar, but less than a single gigawatt of distributed energy storage. I am your host, Mike Lake, and today we will be learning about the challenges of implementing solar energy. In this preview, I am speaking with Jenn Gallegos about how the company she works for, Yotta Energy, has developed a solution that could allow solar power to become far more convenient and commonplace.
Innovation, resiliency, discovery. Join Mike Lake, President and CEO of Leading Cities, as we explore the technologies shaping the possibilities of our future with a preview of tomorrow.
Hello and welcome, Jenn. Thank you so much for joining us. And once again, I do want to thank all of you, our listeners and viewers. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Jenn Gallegos, the Director of Programs and Communications at Yotta Energy, a renewable energy storage company that provides cost-effective, scalable, distributed, and smart energy storage solutions. So, Jenn, before we dive into this whole industry and specifically the work you do, tell us, how did you come about working in this field?
Yeah, thanks. First off, thank you, Mike and team for having us on air today. We're really excited to be part of the Cell City program, the 2021 cohort. So in terms of, how I got here, I've always been interested in, say, climate tech, even before it was a career choice. I remember when I graduated from Stanford, we were the first class that had environmental engineering as a degree. And my path has gone from purely engineering to wanting to get involved in the startup ecosystem. And at the time I was living in Austin, Texas, and really liked what Yotta Energy was doing. So I reached out and, offered to help. And now I'm, here today in front of you as Director of Programs and Communications.
Well, congratulations on that journey. I want to start by just educating me and our audience on this whole industry. I mean, I think we all are familiar with, solar in concept, but are we really familiar with the details?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what is the opportunity that's out there, and why are we not capitalizing on it?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because we hear a lot about, renewable energy and, solar and wind overtaking fossil fuel-based generation. And that's all great. Certainly solar, wind, other renewable generation is absolutely part of our carbon emissions reduction plan. But we have to be able to capture these free electrons, if you will, for times when the sun isn't shining, for example. One way we can do that is with energy storage. And right now, energy storage is not something that most people do because it's not very cost effective. Total installation costs are enormous, and so you don't see a lot of wide scale adoption.
And when we talk about the opportunity here, I know it's said that about 98 gigawatts, and these are probably numbers that I know I have no real concept of what a gigawatt is in comparison, but 98 gigawatts of rooftop solar it already exists in the U.S. But I've seen where there's an untapped potential of as much as 145 gigawatts of additional solar capacity out there on just commercial rooftops. So recognizing that less than 5% of commercial rooftops actually have solar energy being produced. So What is the challenge? Why is there not a greater adoption rate?
Yeah, that's, really something that's tied to total installed system costs. And it's also tied to that, upfront, say, infrastructure costs to do that. Um, However, if we can find a way to reduce those total installed system costs, if we can find a way to, say, distribute energy storage so it's not in one centralized location, say for a large solar or wind farm, then maybe we can crack the energy storage code and provide it at affordable prices to more people.
So let's talk a little bit now about Yotta Energy. Um, Maybe we start by just explaining exactly what it is and what it does.
Sure, sure. So Yotta Energy, we are a company headquartered in Austin, Texas, and we provide scalable, cost-effective, and distributed energy storage solutions. So basically, what that means is we provide energy storage for, say, sub 1 megawatt hour type installations, so that we can build the future of distributed energy.
And maybe dive a little deeper for us into what is distributed energy for those who might not be aware.
Sure, sure. So distributed energy. So right now, if you look at the grid is connected to centralized, say, energy generation and centralized energy storage, and that's located in one area, say, of a particular city or town. What distributed energy is, say, imagine every commercial rooftop in a particular block or square mile, if you will. Imagine if every rooftop had solar plus added to that solar, you'd have energy storage. And so you have these building blocks of energy storage throughout your city to supplement these central energy posts that may be located at farther distances from each other.
So prior to Yotta, what was the option? It was a massive storage, asset.
Exactly. So you would think these large container systems that you see, or I don't know if people have been to a food truck court, but sometimes you'll see these train sort of containers.
Hmm.
That size of container is what a typical centralized energy storage system starts out. And usually it's multiple size, multiple of those containers put together to form energy storage, say at the utility scale. So they're providing lots of storage for a utility client.
So the storage, I mean, when we're talking about harnessing the power of solar in this case, I mean, the storage component of it is a massive piece of the effectiveness and the utility of that energy. And so when you're talking about those traditional storage devices that, I mean, they're large, they're
Mm-hmm.
huge, and if you're talking about multiple of them, you end up with a space issue, I would imagine, in a lot of places, where either you're taking space away from adding more solar panels, or you're stuck not finding a space to actually accommodate the storage devices. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so that's absolutely the case. You end up with space constraints. So where are you going to find the real estate to do that? You end up with utility constraints. So now you have to bring on a team of, civil engineers, geotechnical folks to do trenching, to put, HVAC, to put fire suppression. So all these disciplines, you've got an architect who's now got to design the site. Potentially drainage concerns wherever your large, say, container systems are going. So it creates lots of again tasks that drive up the installation costs for these exact systems that we need more of. We need more energy storage.
And the Yotta Energy device is, not only, and I'm using my words, I'm sure, feel free to change them, but not only, easier to install and more space efficient, but it actually can slip right under a panel, right? So that you're not even taking up any additional real estate. You're actually maximizing the real estate that's already being used by the panels themselves.
Yes, that's correct, Mike. So think of it as the size of a briefcase or a computer or your laptop bag, and it integrates so that it fits into the same ballast racking system that your solar PV module fits in. So your, Yotta solar leaf, the energy storage component fits into the racking. The solar module goes right on top of it and is connected to our inverter, and it's a plug-and-play system. So no, special technical folks needed, no specialized training needed. It's really a very simplified process.
In other words, even I could do it.
Even you could do it. Even you could do it, yeah.
So we've talked a lot about commercial buildings. Obviously, the work that Leading Cities does, this could apply to government buildings. What about the future and the application for homes?
Yeah, so residential, that's certainly one of the markets that we're looking at. Right now, or I guess, in terms of future, yes, the vision is to have Yotta's energy storage solution available to residential type customers or clients. And we're actively, looking to develop that product into something that, is something that customers are wanting.
And give me a sense of, a world without Yotta Energy. What's the fear? What's the alternative?
Yeah, so the fear is that we won't be able to tap into the vast amount of renewable energies that we have available to us today. Yotta's technology is not something 10 years out, 5 years out. It's not even 1 year out. It's available today. And so the fear is if we don't start taking action and decisive action, then we aren't going to meet our climate goals because we aren't meeting our energy storage goals. That's really the biggest fear.
And so I'm going to spin that around and let's now look at the positive. Let's say, 5, 10, whatever, 20 years from now, there's essentially a Yotta's energy storage device under every solar panel in the world. What does that mean? What does that mean to an individual or to a community or to the world at large?
Yeah, so you're right. On the flip side of that, if we do have, say, a Yotta type solution on every rooftop, then you're looking at things like, distributed energy always paired with solar or wind. You're looking at a future where if there's a power outage for whatever reason, if it's natural disaster caused, if it's a public safety power shutoff, you would have a resiliency battery backup solution available to you. It also means that our existing grid is enhanced by these distributed energy assets. In other words, if something happens where the grid can't handle a certain load, these distributed energy resources, such as Yotta's energy storage, could be used to help the grid in those scenarios. And ultimately it's replacing or eliminating fossil fuel peaker plants. It's enabling more EV charging infrastructure, which we all know is coming because we need it. And it's turning any building into its own power plant.
And so when we think about this, there's almost seemingly limitless applications or opportunities with it. I mean, in terms of the amount of energy we could be producing, we have access to now, we're just not harnessing.
Correct. Yeah, that's really it. We need a way to store energy in renewable energy, and this is one way that we can do it, especially as we begin to electrify our grid.
Hmm. Well, listen, I mean, this is such a huge topic, such a huge opportunity, literally for the entire world. We could keep going on. Unfortunately, these interviews just pass too quickly. But I do want to know how can we learn more and stay in contact?
Yes, absolutely. So if anyone is interested in reaching out, please do so at marketing@yottaenergy.com. That's marketing, marketing, at Yotta Energy, YOTTAENERGY.com. And please let us know that you heard us here on the Preview of Tomorrow podcast. We'd love to know.
Fabulous. Jenn, thank you so much for joining us. I really thank you and the whole team for the work you're doing to help us to harness and make the most use of the energy available to us. And we look forward to seeing your success.
Thanks so much, Mike, you and the Acelo City team for having us. We really appreciate it.
And thank you for tuning in to this episode of Preview of Tomorrow. Listeners like you are essential to advancing our efforts to drive resiliency and sustainability for all. I ask that you give us a rating on Apple Podcasts or whichever streaming platform you prefer. Your feedback helps us to grow and share these brief previews of what life in the future can be. In addition to thanking our guest today, I want to thank Peter Roy and Demetria Bridges for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and encourage others to also join us each week in previewing the possibilities of tomorrow.
Preview of Tomorrow is brought to you by Leading Cities, a global nonprofit driving resilience and sustainability for all by unleashing the potential of the world's cities. Join them at leadingcities.org.